2017, Jordan Peele released Get Out, a social thriller that explores how racism persists in contemporary society. Made whilst Obama was president, the film challenges the widely held assumption that the United States had become post-racial. Through Jordan Peele's experience, this was far from true, and he wished to crack the silence by exploring the illusion of post-racial society and the subtleties of liberal racism and the marginalization of the black identity. Peele uses a combination of dialogue, characterization, and cinematic techniques to reveal the tension between fictional appearances and reality, highlighting how prejudice can exist even in spaces that appear polite and progressive. Black viewers often recognize Chris's experiences as reflecting real forms of marginalization, while white viewers may initially read the story as conventional horror, gradually understanding the critique of systemic racism. In the film, the Armitage family presents itself as polite, educated, and liberal, yet their words and actions reveal underlying racial prejudice. This tension is evident when Dean Armitage says, "I would have voted for Obama a third term." In Obama America, many believed that racism was largely overcome, so the comment initially suggests progressiveness. However, the close-up on Chris's uneasy reaction, the silence after the line, and Dean's overly eager tone emphasizes the discomfort beneath the surface, showing how polite liberal behavior can mask subtle forms of control and bias. The Armitages challenge societal assumptions that education, wealth, or political liberalism automatically eliminate prejudice, revealing the persistent gap between appearances and reality. Black audiences are likely to recognize this as performative racism, reflecting real experiences of marginalization, while white audiences may initially perceive the scene as harmless politeness, gradually recognizing the critique of systemic and liberal racism. This moment establishes the foundation for the film's exploration of hidden racism, which is expanded in later scenes, such as the Armitage Garden Party, with subtle admiration and stereotyping of Chris makes the tension even more explicit.
Nice to meet you, Chris. Nice to meet you indeed. Oh, that's quite a grip.
Thank you, you too, man.
You ever play golf?
Once, a few years ago, I wasn't very good.
Gordon was a professional golfer for years.
Oh, you kidding?
Well, I can't quite swing the hips like I used to, though. But, I do know Tiger.
Oh, that's great.
The guest questions, such as asking if genetics make him better, appear polite on the surface but reveal underlying objectification and control. This reflects a broader social context in Obama's America, where racism often exists in coded, seemingly well-intentioned forms. Peele constructs these interactions to challenge the assumption that liberalism and education automatically prevent prejudice, showing that discrimination can be hidden beneath politeness. Cinematic techniques reinforce this tension. The camera often uses Chris's point of view shots to place the audience in his perspective, highlighting his discomfort and the sense of being watched. Slow tracking shots and careful framing emphasize the guest focus on Chris as an object rather than a person. The dialogue paired with exaggerated expressions from the white characters signals microaggressions that might go unnoticed in casual conversation. Racism is thought to be hateful and violent, but it can be seen lightly, where people may not be attempting to discriminate others, yet still subtly base conversation on somebody's skin. Peele best describes this form of racism in this interview with PBS News.
I look at racism as one of these social demons. And in its worst, it's violent and it's a systemic commitment to oppression. At its lightest and most harmless, it is these things that are being called microaggressions, right? Which many times it's an olive branch that someone's trying to say, hey, I know Tiger.
In Get Out, the sunken place symbolizes the marginalization and silencing of black identity. When Chris falls under Missy Armitage's hypnosis, he becomes conscious but completely powerless, illustrating how control is exerted over him despite appearances of normality. In the context of Obama America, this scene reflects how systemic oppression can persist even in seemingly progressive spaces, demonstrating that racism is not always overt. Chris represents black people's experiences of observation, control, and silencing, challenging the assumption that liberalism or social progress alone can prevent oppression. Peele uses wide framing to make Chris appear small and vulnerable, muted sound to emphasize isolation, and slowed downward movement to convey helplessness. The lighting contrasts the real world and the sunken place, visually separating Chris from control over his own body and surroundings. Black audiences may recognize this as a metaphor for social marginalization, while white audiences experience it as shocking and unsettling, evoking empathy and understanding of systemic oppression. This scene reinforces the film's overarching critique of racial dynamics, connecting the marginalization of black identity to the illusion of a post-racial society and the subtle liberal racism explored in earlier scenes. Get Out exposes the persistence of racism by showing the illusion of a post-racial society, subtle liberal racism, and the marginalization of black identity. Peele challenges assumptions that politeness or liberalism remove prejudice, using close-ups, POV shots, framing, lighting, and sound to convey tension and loss of agency. Black audiences recognize Chris's experiences as reflecting real oppression, while white audiences may initially read the scenes differently and perceive them as genuine or polite conversation. Overall, the film uses narrative, representation, and cinematic techniques to communicate the illusion of a post-racial society, which Peele surfaces with magnified scenarios of liberal racism and marginalized minorities, expressing smothered values he brings to light.